Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's Brandon, and welcome back to another episode of Murata Media. And today I'm doing something a little bit different. The 92nd Annual Academy Awards are tomorrow or tonight. I guess it just depends whenever I release this video. And for the first time in my life, I have seen all movies that are nominated for Best Picture. So to celebrate, I thought it would be fun to make a video ranking all 9 nominees from the ones I like the least to the ones I like the best. And yes, I thoroughly enjoyed all of these movies. I thought they were all fantastic. I gave all of them either a rating of an 8, 9, or 10. I'll be ranking them starting at the bottom from 9 and working my way up. I also will be discussing some of the picks I made in my Oscar predictions video because some of my picks have changed since I made that video. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. At number 9, and I honestly did not see this coming, at number 9 is 1917. I made a review on this movie just a few weeks ago, and I had a lot of good things to say about it, and those things still ring true to me. I thought that this was a fantastic movie. But the reason that it ranks at number 9 on my list is because the story just really didn't do a lot for me. Now, that isn't to say that the story itself is bad, but its nomination for Best Original Screenplay was a little head scratching to me because it's not really a groundbreaking script. This is more a movie that should be praised for its technical achievements, and boy, does it ever deserve it. The cinematography, the visual effects, the production design, the sound editing, all of it is truly amazing. And that's why I'm willing to forgive this movie's story, because you could tell that this movie was made more as an experiment to see if they could actually pull something like this off. And since they were able to pull it off almost perfectly, I'm willing to forgive the story's lack in depth. In my Oscars video, I predicted that this movie would win Best Picture, and I do still think it is the frontrunner to win. There are 2 other movies that I think could give it a run for its money, but I will discuss those when I get to them. But overall, I really did love this movie, and I wish I could have ranked it higher, but the story just wasn't all that intriguing to me, and that's why it comes in at number 9. At the number 8 spot is the movie that I have seen most recently among the nominees, and that was Greta Gerwig's Little Women. I'm gonna have a lot more to say about this movie because I never got a chance to review it, but to put it short, I thought that this was a very sweet movie. The acting by everyone was fantastic. The costume and set design felt so authentic, like it was actually made during the Civil War. The score and camera work was also very beautiful. But my biggest complaint with Little Women is that the movie jumps a lot from year to year. One minute it'll take place in the past, and the next minute it'll take place in the present. And at first this was very confusing because there were quite a few times where I was having difficulty deciphering what year we were in. But as the movie progressed, I noticed that the time period was told through the movie's color correction. Because if a scene took place in the past, the colors were a lot more vibrant, warm, and very inviting. But if it took place in the present, the colors were a lot more blue and cooler and just kind of depressing looking. But at the same time, there were a few moments where I was still confused. I can see why people are upset that Greta Gerwig was not nominated for Best Director, because the directing in this movie is pretty top-notch. Florence Pugh is nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and while I do think that she did a phenomenal job, I personally liked her performance in Midsommar a lot more. But at the end of the day, I only see this movie winning 1 Oscar, and I think that's Best Costume Design. I could see it winning Best Adapted Screenplay, but I have also changed my pick for that award as well. But Little Women was a very sweet movie, and now I need to watch Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig's first movie, because I still haven't seen it. And in the 7th spot is Martin Scorsese's The Irishman. There's not a lot I could say about this movie that I have already said, but Martin Scorsese is still one of the best directors working today, and he has not lost a step. With a runtime of 3.5 hours, you think to yourself, maybe this movie could be a little bit shorter. But when I think about it, there really is not any one scene that I can think of that I felt wasn't necessary to the story. So if you just pick any random scene and take it out, then you would feel like there was a chunk of it missing. This movie is nominated for a lot of awards, I believe about 10? Alexa, how many Oscars is The Irishman nominated for?
A response from an Amazon customer about Hamilton Beach Red Toaster Oven says, Toaster oven model 31,146, 120 volts, 60 hertz, 1,100 watts.
Okay. Okay, let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Google. Okay, according to Google, this movie is nominated for 10 Oscars. And honestly, even though it's nominated for 10, I can definitely see this movie not winning any of them. In my Oscar predictions video, I said that I think that this would win Best Editing, but it's becoming more apparent to me that either Parasite or Ford vs. Ferrari is going to take that. I also picked this movie to win Best Adapted Screenplay, but as of right now, it looks like Jojo Rabbit or Little Women are going to take that one. It was also announced recently that this movie was going to be released on the Criterion Collection, and I cannot wait because I will be purchasing it. At number 6 is Ford vs. Ferrari. I particularly love this movie because I was not very familiar with this story. And it's little things that I learned that I just found the most interesting. Like, I didn't know that Ford attempted to buy Ferrari at one point, and I also didn't know that Fiat now owns Ferrari. To tell you the truth, I didn't even know Fiat was around during that time. But this movie was just amazing. Matt Damon and Christian Bale had such good chemistry with one another. The racing sequences were just so well edited and shot. James Mangold should have at least gotten consideration for Best Director in my opinion. But I particularly love this movie because it has a very touching message about the American dream. Because there's a specific line from Christian Bale at the end of the movie that particularly stuck with me. After he gets screwed over and not picked as the winner of the Le Mans 66, he says to Matt Damon, "You promised me the ride, not the win." And to me, that just pushes the message of do what it is that you love to do. You may not always get what you want and you may not always win, but as long as you're doing what you love, then that really makes you a true winner. I know that may sound sappy, but it's the truth. It's nominated for Best Editing, which I can see it winning, and as well as Best Sound Design and Sound Editing, but I think both of those will go to 1917. And while I do love this movie, I did think its nomination for Best Picture was a little bit peculiar, because I knew people loved it, but I didn't think that they loved it that much. And at the number 5 spot is Jojo Rabbit. This is the only movie this year that made me laugh hysterically and nearly make me cry like a baby. The more you think about it, the more you realize that this is truly a ballsy movie to make. Taking something such as World War II and making a big joke out of it while also maintaining a very positive message is something that is pretty ballsy. Even though this movie did make me laugh, there were a few times where the tone just didn't match, but there were quite a few moments that were very serious and the movie resorted to making a joke, and I really wish it didn't do that because these serious moments would have worked so much better if they weren't ruined by a joke. Now, I will admit, occasionally the jokes were funny, but I wish it either stuck to humor or drama in those specific sections. I don't believe I picked this movie to win anything, but I did pick The Irishman to win Best Adapted Screenplay, but if I had to pick now, I would say this is the front runner for that award, and that would make me so happy to see Taika Waititi on stage accepting an Oscar. And at the number 4 spot is Joker. I've noticed that this movie recently has come under fire for being very overrated, and a lot of people on Letterboxd have given it a half a star out of 5. Now, I'm not saying that these people's opinions of the movie are wrong, but that just seems a little bit harsh to me. And I think that's a result of this movie's popularity and acclaim when it was first released, so now that movie is overrated crowd is coming out of the woodwork. And that's fine. They can think it's overrated all they want, but I still think that this is a tremendous film. And this movie leads all the other nominees with 11 nominations. And realistically, I think it's only going to win 2 of them. I think it's definitely going to win Best Score, and I think Joaquin Phoenix is a lock for Best Actor. And while I don't particularly agree with the nomination of Todd Phillips for Best Director, I can see why he was nominated because I think he did a pretty fantastic job. And if I was in charge of these nominations, I personally would have taken him out and replaced him with Noah Baumbach. And yes, I understand why people think this movie is overrated because the people who love it say it's a masterpiece, and I personally don't agree with that, but it is a great origin story for the Joker, and it was so awesome to see someone like him finally get their own standalone movie. At number 3 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I got very sick recently and I missed a couple days of work, and one of those days I was just really bored laying around all day. So I went over to my Blu-rays to watch a movie and I saw this and I was like, I haven't seen this movie in a while, so I'm gonna watch it again. And it got so much better for me. I truly do love this movie so much, and I think it's one of Tarantino's bests. And this is one of the movies that I can definitely see winning Best Picture. Because, I mean, the word Hollywood is in the title. It takes place in Hollywood in the late 60s. And if we know anything, Hollywood loves themselves some Hollywood. But I don't mean that in a bad way, because if this movie won Best Picture, I would be more than okay with that. And in the runner-up spot for my favorite of the Best Picture nominations is Marriage Story. One of my coworkers actually just said to me recently that she thought this movie was terrible because it was so depressing. Yes, because a movie about divorce is supposed to be all lollipops and rainbows. But this honestly might be my favorite screenplay of the year. Everything is just so meticulously layered, and I was blown away when I found out that that argument scene was all scripted. None of it was ad-libbed. And that is just a testament to great writing and direction from Noah Baumbach, and that's why I think he should have been nominated for Best Director instead of Todd Phillips. But what I love about Marriage Story so much is that it goes so much deeper with its subject matter. It makes other movies of this same genre look very shallow in comparison. And while I definitely understand that it's very depressing at times, it had to be. And just like The Irishman, Marriage Story has also been announced to be put on the Criterion Collection later this year, so I will be buying both of them. And holding the top spot of my favorite movies among the Best Picture winners, you know what it is. Parasite. This is a movie that will be shown in film classes 100 years from now. This movie is a masterpiece, and it will be seen as a classic for a very long time. Because I don't like to use this word a lot, but literally everything is perfect. The direction, the cinematography, the acting, the story, the themes, the editing, the production design, all of it. This is the movie that I want to win Best Picture and Best Director, but I think that both Sam Mendes and 1917 are the frontrunners for those right now. But I would not be shocked if this movie did win Best Picture, because it more than deserves it. Let me tell you, if it does, I will leap off of my couch in excitement. While Parasite wasn't my favorite movie of 2019, among these nominees, it deserves this recognition the most. There's really nothing more that I can say about this movie that hasn't already been said. Well, that's it, everybody. Those were my rankings of this year's Best Picture nominees. Just a very simple video that I wanted to do before the Oscars happen, and I have not been this excited for the Oscars in a very long time. Like, last year I wasn't really excited, and that might be more that 2018 was a pretty lousy year for movies in hindsight, while 2019 was probably the best. If you guys agree with my rankings, let me know, or I would love to know your rankings if you've seen all of these movies, so comment down below with your list. But if you guys want to see more videos like this, then be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to see some reviews that I've done the past few weeks, those will be linked right here. And other than that, I hope you all have a tremendous rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.